planting. So once again, welcome Fawn and Adriana and Trenton. Welcome to the membership. So today we're going to do a little bit of reviewing because we're going to talk about warm weather plants. That's what we're going to be planting. Now the weather has stabilized into where our sort of right in between no man's land. So we really don't want to be planting cool weather plants because it's going to get warm too fast. But we really don't want to be planting too many warm weather plants because it's still a little bit cold. So we need our temperature to be around 55, not lower than, not really our outside temperature, at least our bed, our soil temperature to be around 55 degrees for the warm season plants to be happy. Now, we can maybe fudge it a little bit, but that's a good rule of thumb. And all you got to do is use a meat thermometer to uh, to check your temperature of your soil. So, and you want to do it in all different places. Julie, have you checked the temperature yet of your soil lately?
Yeah, I have. I forgot what it said. I didn't pay attention to that. I've been doing a lot of pH. I've been
We're gonna,
focusing on that.
we're going to focus on that
Yeah,
at the end. Yes, because
yeah,
I knew that was a question, so we're going to do that. But I just want to make sure that you were thinking about the temperature.
yeah.
I will also have specifically a picture of something. Have any of you guys ever seen these little teeny tiny peppers? They're
Oh,
very delicious.
cute.
They're, like there's ones that are a little bit bigger and they sell those at the grocery store. You can't really find these too many places, but these are sweet and they are wonderful pickled and put into salads. So I wanted to share those with you in case you ever want to. I just had them the other day at a restaurant. They were so good. So I'm going to try to find the seeds and grow them. All right, so just a little more review. So our warm seasons are onions and scallions, and even if you don't have success with them, they are so good to have in our garden for pest protection. So always want to see if you can find some onions or scallions or something to put around. Carrots, arugula, radishes, or beans. These are all, I like the way this chart is because it tells you what size the plant is going to be in its full bloom. And those are all small plants, so you can put more in a square foot area. So when you're new, you're going to find out that all the plants grow at different rates. And so it really depends on, oh wait, I'm so sorry. Let's see here. Let me see here. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure that we're in Zoom 6. Do we have everything here? Okay. Sorry about that. This is just to goes to show. I might just keep it like this so we can get through, so we don't have to keep getting interrupted. Um, the plants get bigger. All plants get different sizes. So to know when you're new, it's a little bit tricky to figure out how big your plant's going to get. So you'll just sort of have to look things up. But as you go along, it'll get a lot easier as you start growing things because you can only grow a certain amount of things at a certain time of the year. And so those are limiting you to what you can plant. So there's not going to be as many questions. So anyway, right now we're going to really concentrate on what we're going to plant right now. And these are the medium ones. You can see them there. And the large ones are like our tomatoes and eggplants, okra, cucumbers, beans, sweet potatoes. These are all get much bigger and you're going to have more room for them. And then the extra large ones, you can't see there, but that's like a melon or a pumpkin and an okra. And those get really, really big. So I want to talk about how to go to the nursery. If you haven't started, we talked about seed starting last week. So now we're going to talk about going to the nursery and actually buying the plants. What are we looking for when we're buying plants? I'm sorry, you guys. I think Fawn is here. I just don't want her to miss this. Hold on one second. Here she is. Okay. Hello, Fawn. Welcome, welcome. Let's see here. Okay. So when we go to the nursery, what are we looking for? So this is obvious. We're going to look for healthy plants, but you're going to be surprised at how you can have the same plant and they'll have different looks to them. Sometimes they'll be ratty looking. They'll be all different. You'll see there's like even especially right now when they have the tomatoes, they're coming in at all different times. So sometimes the same variety, you can just see there's a lot of different types of you can choose from. So I want to talk about like if you're at the plant store, which one are you going to actually buy? So one of the things you want to look for is you can sort of slip it out of the plastic container and look to see if the roots are bound. And that's a sign that they're older. And so you want to try to find things that don't have the bound roots if you can. So that's a good test to look. This one is not intuitive, but do not buy plants that have fruit on them or even flowers. So you want the youngest plant possible because it's going to give it the most success at growing. If you plant a mature plant, it can do well, but it's harder on it. It's going to be more stressed. So look for the younger plant. So sometimes it's scary because if you want to get a flower and you really want pink and they have red and purple and white and all these different colors and the ones aren't blooming yet, and you never know because they can, things get mistagged all the time in nurseries. You might end up with one you don't like, but better to have one that you don't like than to have a healthy one. So that's another one. And the fourth, fifth one is don't buy on sale because usually it's an older plant or it's something that's going out of season. For instance, I was at Star Nursery today and they had all their, what was it on sale? They had all the ones on sale, like a lot of cool weather plants on sale, like broccoli, cauliflower. They had those kind of plants on sale. Well, you don't want to plant those because because you don't want to buy those because it's going to get too hot. Oops, sorry about this. It's going to get too hot. It's going to get too hot, and those broccoli and cauliflowers are not going to be able to grow. So, anyway, that's some of the things. Is there any questions on this? Have anybody been to the nursery lately? Just wanted to know what to do. Okay. Also, yes?
Okay. For the root bound things, it's just that they're kind of like tied together, kind of
Okay, good question. So what happens is when you see, the roots are always very white. So you'll see the dark soil and you'll see the white roots, and they start making a circle around themselves. And if there's a lot of the white roots in that pot, it usually means it's root bound. Now, I'm glad you asked that question because actually, let's just say you had really wanted basil and every single basil plant's root bound, but they look healthy, they look good. So what you do is you buy it, no problem. When you get ready to plant it, you slice it in four directions and spread it out. What you want to do, what's happening is the roots have been stuck in this pot and it's just telling itself go round and around and round and round, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to strangle itself eventually. So what you want to do is when you go to plant it, you slice it at the bottom, it's not going to hurt it, and you sort of spread it out and then you put it in the ground, and then it's telling itself, okay, I'm going to reach out now. I'm not stuck in this pot anymore. I've got some more room to grow. Great question.
thank you.
Yes?
No, I just said thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Now, I found this and I was really thinking of Christy Hart because she's got four boys and she's got a lot of garden to grow things. I found this, I don't know how accurate it is, but I thought it was interesting. And this is how many plants to grow per person for a year's worth of food. Now, I'm going to assume that a year's worth means because we can't grow tomatoes for a year, we can only grow them for the summer months. I'm assuming they're saying have enough so that you can, at the end of the day, pickle them or can them or freeze them or whatever. So anyway, I just thought this was an interesting chart. But for per person, if you want to have a year's worth of food, cucumbers is 4 plants, tomatoes is 10 to 12. Anyway, you can look at this and you might want to, I'm going to give it out to you guys as a handout in your replay tomorrow, in your replay newsletter that I always.
That's really cool. I love that. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I It's funny in the carrot situation, just for the new people, you got to remember carrots and beets, anything that's a root vegetable or in a radish, once you pull it up, it's gone and you have to plant a seed again. So it's not like other ones or like a garlic and onions. They're all the same way. Once you pull it up, it's gone. So you have to replant it. But that's why there's a lot more of those on this chart than like a regular one. But I really like the idea that the summer squash, that's a good example. Only need one or two per person because trust me, squash and zucchinis produce a lot per plant. So I think this is a good, interesting guide to look at. So we're getting ready. Oh, wait a minute. I had this. I want to show you this first. So this is an idea if you want to look at a plant plan. This is just a pretty one to look at. But it does give you a good idea of where you would put things. So you always want to put, depending on if your plant raised bed, if it's up against a wall, you want to put all your tall plants in the back. If you have something like this that's more freestanding, you can get all around it, you want to put the tall things in the middle. So that's the first thing you want to think about is how tall. That's what I was going back to, really understanding what is going to be tall. For you guys, beginners, we're going to probably be starting with tomatoes, some peppers, basil, those kind of things. Those are all going to be taller and you're going to put those in the middle. Then you can start planting. After you do your middle ones, you're going to go around the corners. And that's where I usually put little alyssum flowers or marigolds, or I decide to put some trailing oregano or rosemary. You can put your herbs along the outside because the herbs are very low, and except for like a dill, which is going to go crazy, or basil. But that's the thing. You got to know your plants. And then, of course, you want your trellises and things to grow things up. So you have to know what is going to be growing up, what needs support. That means anything that's a bean, a cucumber, or a tomato. These all need supports. And I'm doing a repeat slide because sometimes I just want to make sure this all gets in your head because it's a lot to learn. The difference between a perennial plant and an annual is that a perennial comes back every year and an annual only comes back once. And there's a tricky one. Parsley, it comes back for 2 years. So that's the odd man out. But our herbs are mostly perennial in that they're going to come back over and over and over. That would be your chives, chamomile, lavender, lemon balm, oregano, rosemary, parsley, and sage. No, parsley again is it's a biannual. Notice what's missing on this list. Who can tell me? Unmute real quick and tell me what's missing on the list because it's an annual.
Stevia. Oh no.
Is stevia? I don't know. I thought stevia might come back. I think stevia
Mine's
might
coming back. I'm sorry. Mine's coming.
Okay, come on. Let's see if anybody else can guess.
Mint.
Basil.
Basil. So we're talking about an annual. Basil. Okay. Basil would get, the minute we hit cold, it's going to stop growing. And our dill is opposite. The heat will kill the dill. Chives, I forgot to put chives on here. Oh, no, they're there. They come back. They sort of die off, but they do come back. So knowing those things, it's good to know because you want to keep the ones that are going to come back year after year sort of out of the way of the ones that you want to plant every year. Okay, here we go. We're going to start talking about tomatoes.
Is that yours, Jo Jamie?
I'm sorry?
Is that your planter?
No. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's actually a friend of mine in Chicago, but I should show you. I was trying to get this going because my planter is similar to that, and it's actually flourishing right now. It's going crazy now that the sun's coming out a little. It's getting a little bit warmer. But the reason why I showed you these because we're going to talk all about tomatoes today because they are. You know what's funny about tomatoes? They can be easy, but they can be tricky at the same time. So it's all about knowing everything about them. So we're going to do a deep dive into everything tomato. So there's two types of varieties of tomatoes. And you're going to see this when you get ready to go to the store, if you want to go to the store. Now, speaking of going to the store, if you have not started your tomato seeds yet, if you didn't start them in January or February, you're too late. You're going to have to buy them at the store. So that's an FYI. You have to buy them at the store because they got to be pretty big now, because we're going to have it's going to have this short warm season. And once it hits 100 degrees, that's it. Our tomatoes don't like that anymore. They're not going to maybe die, but they will stop producing. So we have a short window. So we're going to talk about that short window today too. So there's a couple of things. The indeterminate is a vining tomato. That means it needs a big, tall trellis or obelisk or something to grow up. Not those little dinky tomato cages. I don't know who. Somebody out there has talked about these little bitty, thin, short tomato cages and making a bundle of money on it, but they don't work. They're not tall enough. You need something literally 5 to 6 feet minimum tall for a tomato. That's how tall you need it. So just remember that when you get ready to grow your tomatoes. As a matter of fact, this bed had 5-foot trellises, and they ended up going to a 7-foot trellis because these weren't even tall enough. But again, this is Chicago. They have a longer growing season. The ones on the right are called determinate, and they call determinate, and I like to remember it this way: they are determined to all bloom at the same time. So that's the determinate. And I didn't really realize there was the two types until I learned it all in my, Master Gardener program. So when you go to buy them, they'll say indeterminate and determinate. But what they will say that will make it easy for you is they will say vining when they are indeterminate. And that just means vining is the kind that grow, that need a trellis. And they're the ones that just keep slowly ripening all year long. And those are my favorite types to have, because then you're going to have tomatoes. Otherwise, you're just stuck with all these little tomatoes. Unless you want to can them, you're sort of stuck with them. So any questions about the two types of tomatoes? Now, another question, because you're going to see it when you get ready to go out there and buy things, is what's the difference between the hybrids and the heirloom? And the heirloom have a lot more flavor. They're older. They come from old seeds, and they're going to have a lot more flavor. Whereas the hybrids are great because they have things in it that are heat resistant, or they just grow really well. So there's not really one way or a good way or a bad way between the two of them. It's just really your preference. And sometimes maybe you want to grow both types. Okay, so let's see here.
Joe, Jamie,
Yes.
what about those flavor bomb tomatoes that you can get in the grocery store that have so much flavor? How do they do that?
Well, you are going to be so excited because when you grow your own, you get your own flavor bomb.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because no other tomato in the grocery store has any flavor at all.
No,
But those
and
flavor bombs every time have.
And I
tons of
agree with you that the flavor bombs, I don't know how they do it, but they are delicious. But I am telling you, I don't even like tomatoes. It's so funny. I've had my whole life, everybody knows that I don't like tomatoes. And everybody's making fun of me because I grow so many tomatoes because I love them, because when you grow them yourself, they are delicious. They are flavorful. And that's why growing your own tomatoes is so much preferable. That's why people do it all the time, because it is just like buying a flavor bomb at the grocery store. So you're going to see it's going to be fun. And the other thing about it is choosing the right variety. And that's what there's a gal, a local gal here, and she studied with a woman called the Tomato Lady. And the Tomato Lady is a legend in Las Vegas. She's been here she's probably in her late 80s now, but she's been teaching how to grow tomatoes for many years. And this local gal is been her student, actually worked with her for 3 years, and now she's growing the right varieties. And guess what? I went to her tomato sale the other day, and I picked up all like 13 tomatoes from her. And so I'm very excited because supposedly these are going to be so much better than even Star Nursery ones. So if you guys, need tomatoes, I've got them. And anyway, but I know I'm going to teach you the varieties because these are the ones that she gave that I bought from her. So I'm going to show you the varieties of them. So these are the ones that I bought from her. So she has something called Patio Choice, which is a yellow cherry, a Juliet, which is a red cherry, a Sweetheart cherry, and the last one is I think it's called Black Cherry. And then more this now I think this one, Sunrise Bumblebee, I think this one will probably be just super pretty in a salad, but maybe not as flavorful as like the Sweetheart Cherry or the Juliet. So sometimes, you decide on something just for fun versus really, really yummy. Like as you do this every year, you're going to see that there's going to be some that you say, I love this one so much, I'm always going to grow it. Or then you just keep playing around. Another one that is good. Now, I want to warn you, everybody, once again, it's not that long of a season. It's sort of interesting. We almost have two growing seasons for tomatoes because it gets so hot and everything just sort of stops, but we can use shade cloth. And the shade cloth is our savior. So shade cloth is something you can buy at the nursery or at Amazon, and there's different varieties of it. This is a 50% shade cloth is recommended. And what you do is it depends on where your bed is. If you have a bed that's right in the middle of the sun, it's totally fine. You just put 4 big plastic poles or stakes or whatever you want, and you just layer the cloth right over top, and it's fine. And it'll just shade your plants, and it'll make it so much easier on them. If you have a bed that you can move them on wheels, you can move them under if you have a little terrace or something, you can move them around. That can be good too. But literally, we do want to shade our plants in the summer. Last summer was brutal, and almost everybody lost all their tomatoes. But that's to say that we had a second chance. Once it starts getting cooler, we actually had this little quick window to start tomatoes again. And I actually did have to start my tomatoes again, and I got some cherries. So that's what I'm going to say to you. The smaller tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes, or this last one I didn't talk about, the Stopice, Stopice. You can see how small it is. It's like the palm of your hand. You can get 3 of them in there. It's almost like a Roma tomato, but it has a lot of flavor to it. The Brandywine is the biggest of all of them. I am just saying, if you want to have success with your tomatoes, it's better to go smaller to start with. As a beginner, you're going to have more success with the smaller ones because it's a shorter growing season for them. They're only going to take, 40 days, I think, from planting a plant to getting a tomato. Whereas like a Brandywine is 90 days. That's 3 months. Here we are. We're probably not going to be planting tomatoes till another week or two. That brings us down into April, May, June, July. You guys know that July can get hot, and August certainly can get hot. So I'm just telling you now, just try it. Has anybody here grown a tomato, like a bigger one, with success?
Oh, only cherry for me.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I just want to encourage people when they're we're all beginners here. I want you all to have success. So it's not because you're not a good grower. It's just because it's just harder because our weather does not cooperate. So it's a little bit harder when we can't have the longer time for them to get harvested. All right, so let's talk about how you're going to plant the tomato. So number 1, we're going to wait for the soil to be at least 65 degrees. We're going to start with a healthy plant that looks nice and healthy. Now, this is the part that we might not know about. You are going to remove the bottom leaves because we want to plant it deep. Now, a tomato is very unusual than most of our vegetable plants. Their stems, if you notice, are fuzzy. And their fuzziness is little teeny. What's that? Okay. The stem has a little bit of fuzziness to it, and that just means that those are going to be roots that are going to go out. So the deeper the plant, it's going to give it a nice stable, it's going to give it more roots to shoot out so that it's going to grow faster and be bushier and be a healthier plant. So you don't want to do like you normally do. Now, normally all our other plants that we plant, if you get the seeds, if you've started your own seeds and you're ready to get them in the ground, or you bought them at the store, you are going to plant them right where they meet the soil. That's just perfectly. You don't really want to do it higher or lower. You want to just do it the way it is. Whereas a tomato, when you buy it in the store, you're going to rip those bottom leaves off, and then you're going to plant it low, really low into the ground. You also, when you dig your hole, you want to add some more amendment to it. You want to put some compost in there, or you want to put some worm castings, because tomatoes are heavy, heavy feeders. And we're going to keep feeding them all through the next few months because we really want them to get all the nourishment they need. Another trick about tomatoes is watering, you guys, because they like to be watered regularly. So if you have a system that you have like some kind of it's best to have some kind of an irrigation system that is getting deep watering on a regular basis. Otherwise, they'll crack. That doesn't hurt it, but it does happen. So a lot of people have come to me and said, my tomatoes always crack. What's the matter? And I'm just going to say it didn't get watered, maybe not deep enough or on a regular basis. Again, yes, did somebody?
Yeah, can I ask a question on how deep to plant the tomatoes? We're taking off the bottom leaves, and then how many inches down in the soil, like from where the soil currently meets the plant, like if we're buying it from the store.
Right. I would say, I mean, almost, it's almost, you can't even, it's not ever too deep really, but I would say like leave about a half inch from the leaves. I'm going to do a video on it. When I was going to do a video on it today, but it's just a little too cool to plant the tomatoes right now. But I will do a video for you guys when it gets a little bit warmer.
Okay.
Okay. And then I think I saw something on Instagram the other day. It's like people planted their little baby seedlings, and the next day they're looking at them, hoping that they've got new plants. But that's the part about when we plant things and we grow things, it takes a long time. And our tomatoes are one of those things that it seems like forever. Like finally you'll be like, oh, I don't see a flower. And then finally you'll see the flowers, and then you'll see these little teeny green circles, and you're like, oh, when are they going to get bigger? And then they'll finally make the big tomato, and they're still green, and it just feels like it's forever. But it's so fun when they finally get red. So anyway. So that's about the tomato. So here you go. This is the showing you about the stem. This is another controversial thing about tomatoes. Do you see where it says on the right-hand side, it says sucker? So that's a little leaf coming out in between the two, like between the stem and another leaf. And it's been said over hold on one second. Let Anna in. It's been said that over the years that you want to take those suckers off, but actually those suckers can produce more flowers. So what I like to do instead of taking the suckers off is just as the plant is growing, you're going to keep the bottom stalk about, I would say, 4 or 5 inches, and just keep plucking off the leaves. And actually, you can stake them. I mean, there's a lot to guys. This is all stuff we're going to be talking about this later when they get growing, how we're going to treat these things. But there's a lot of different ways. Some people take the suckers off. I don't. I like to stake my tomato and keep it growing up. And you're going to see that the bottom of the plant starts fruiting first. And as we start harvesting, we can keep going up and up and up. And then by the end, you're going to have this long stalk, and you're going to have mostly green at the top. So that might sound confusing, but I think that's the best way to get the most harvest out of your tomatoes. The people that take the suckers off would be more like if you wanted to get a bigger tomato, because you're telling the plant, put the energy into the tomatoes that are already there. But here we're not really going, bigger is not really better. We just want lots of tomatoes. and they're going to be yummy. Oh, I see there's things in the chat here. I haven't been doing the chat either. Okay, so good luck with the oh, also we always want to make sure we're taking off the dead leaves, and we're also checking our leaves daily. Once we start planting our tomato, every day you want to check your leaves, because if you start seeing little black dots on your leaves, that means you have a tomato hornworm. Do not think it's anything else. It is a tomato hornworm, and it is there somewhere. And the best way to find it is to get out there at night with a black light, and then you might see them. But what you're going to see before anything is your plant getting eaten, and that's not a fun thing. So beware of the the tomato hornworm.
Do hornworms, perhaps, is that what ate my radish leaves?
You know,
I
I heard roly-polies can eat them. I've had problems with my radishes getting eaten. You know what I think too? I have a little lizard that's in my garden. Now, lizards are supposed to be good. They can eat bugs too. But today I came out and somebody chomped off one of each of my kale plant leaves and left it laying there. So I don't know if they chomped it and didn't like it and they just left it there. The other thing they're chomping and leaving are my pansies, big pansies. They're just laying around like someone came around and just clipped. I don't know what's going on with that. But we're going to find all sorts of things in our gardens that get chomped. And you just have to keep trying different things. So yeah, so I don't know about your radishes, Rosemary. But you were saying you had a lot of problems with everything. Right? You know, really, if
What else is new?
we all have it. It's going to be, you guys, it's a challenge. Now, the other thing that I do know that we do that's successful, and it's not pretty, but we cover our seedlings with a layer of frost cloth or some kind of a cloth that we pin down, and then hopefully things can't get to it. But if you have a worm, that's not going to work because the worm's in there. So just have to try different things. I've not had good luck with radishes, I can tell you that right now. I've had just a few survive, but I keep trying.
I have been sprinkling cinnamon, chili, diatomaceous earth, however you say that. Just doing all the things, just hoping something works.
And nothing is working.
No, my spinach and lettuce seeds are coming up okay now.
Oh,
But
good. Oh, good. I'm thinking, so the diatomaceous earth, and you know that it has to be done over and over again, because if it gets wet, it doesn't work anymore. So if you've had the water on, or if it was rained, which it hasn't rained, but it's going to be raining, then we have to keep sprinkling the diatomaceous earth.
And are you supposed to just go around the plant with that?
You can, yes, around the plant with it, because yeah, and I don't think it's going to hurt it if it gets on the leaves a little bit. I have actually put mine. I went to the dollar store and bought a mozzarella, not mozzarella, a Parmesan shaker, and I just shake it around. So that's the way it's the easiest to do. Like use a sieve or some kind of a salt and pepper. I think salt and pepper shaker would be too small of a hole, but I think like a sieve or any kind of shaker, it works really good. All right, I'm going to escape here and go to the chat. Where's my chat? Okay, great. Oh, good. All right, so we're all good over here. All right. So that is my lecture on the tomatoes. Now, the next thing I did is I found a book for us. If you guys are interested, I have not read this yet, but it came highly recommended. It's called What Your Food Ate, and it's all about soil. And I thought it sounded really interesting. I heard the authors interviewed, and I really thought this could be a fun book if anybody's interested on importance of our soil. You know, I teach for a gardenery, and it's interesting because I had a student today say that they built their raised beds with treated wood, And we know that can leach into our food, so that's not good. Even here you are growing all organically, you want to make sure that what you're growing your food in is not wood or plastic that can leach into our food. And the other thing I think I mentioned last week was about the when you're trying to plant and do the things with the hydroponics, your plants aren't going to get the nutrition that it gets from having it in the soil. So I do like hydroponics for people because especially some of our herbs and things, we could grow them all through the winter and have them, which is great. But if you try to plant something from your hydroponic into the ground, it's not going to work because those roots are so nurtured and they're so happy in their little water solution that they don't really they can't survive out in the wild in the dirt. And that really says something to me. So we want to, and then the other thing I want to talk about is the soil that we do use. Do not get bags of soil that have anything kind of Miracle-Gro in them, because that is definitely chemicals. And what happens is that the chemicals in the Miracle-Gro actually deplete our soil, and it might do a great job for at first, but you just don't believe me. Trust me, you don't want to. If you want to Google it, Google the difference between organic soil and Miracle-Gro soil, and you'll see that you are not going to want to use it. So let's see. Okay, so now we're going to go to questions. Let's see here. And I do want to start with the pH problem. So Julie, tell us what happened with you in your pH. Tell us about it.
I just got one of those monitors,
A pH,
those water
like a
meters.
like a
So I
water.
got one of those water meters with it's a 4-in-1, and it also had pH.
Right.
So I tested the soil, but actually what kind of led to this was I was at the Star Nursery trying to find fertilizer for my fruit trees. Because
Oh,
remember, I
okay.
had to order from Amazon the 10-10-2 that Rosemary
Yes.
suggested, and they sent me the wrong one. So I went to Star Nursery trying to find it, and they don't have that, but they have a lot of other numbers, and I didn't understand what any of those numbers meant. So I just started going down the rabbit hole of I'm like, does that mean is it out of pH? What do those numbers mean? So anyway, down this rabbit hole, I learned about the pH, and that in Las Vegas, the soil is generally more alkaline.
Yes.
And so when I checked my soil, it was actually more acidic for some reason.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so I thought to myself, that's probably why my plants have not been growing.
Wow. So, so we can do soil, that you might even want to do a better soil test than that. Did you know that you could get take a sample from 3 or 4 spots in your garden and send the soil into the University of Las
Oh.
Vegas?
Well, yes. That sounds like a lot of work.
Well, so here's the thing here's the thing. You think it's very interesting that you have low, they're saying you have
Yeah.
low pH.
Yeah, low pH.
So, and I know you had mentioned about wood ash. Did they ask you about how to put that in there?
So Star Nursery, wasn't that I didn't really ask them about that. I kind of just went to Chat GPT
Okay.
and had it give me like a list of things to make it more alkaline or make it more neutral or whatever.
Right.
And wood ash is one of them. And it was, just sprinkle it around and then, put some water on it.
Okay. And then I think bone meal is one too. And that, I don't know if wood ash, if that's just you burn wood. I don't know what wood ash
You
is.
could just burn wood. I couldn't actually find it in at Star Nursery. So I was just like, wait a minute, isn't this something I could just burn?
You can, but
Really what it is. It's just like
but
ash and wood.
that's why I was saying to you that we think instead maybe use the bone meal. Because
Bone meal, does that help with the acidity?
yes, that's what I found. That's in the bottom here of the raising the alkaline. It says use the bone meal.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
but here's the thing that's interesting. The biggest thing that I read about it is that if you overcorrect then it says you can cause nutrient lockout.
Yeah.
It's a scary situation, trying to get it balanced. And
Yeah.
I'm not a soil expert, but I do know, so that's really unusual. Like I said, it's very usual to have high alkaline here. And especially, but is so, okay, well, I think it'll be a test for you to try to figure this out. Oops.
Yeah. So I think the important thing that I learned is that if your pH is not balanced, if it's too acidic or too alkaline, that your plants actually will not efficiently absorb all the fertilizer, all the beautiful fertilizer that you're feeding your plants.
Getting it. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get the pH from. Wow.
Yeah. So they said the analogy they gave was it's like drinking through a straw with it being clogged.
Right. So did you test your other two beds with the
Yeah, they were all too acidic.
That's so weird because wow.
I have no idea why. But
I mean, my beds.
Well, I'm going to get on this with you because I want to make sure because we use two different soils. Like we had well, I guess we refilled the small beds mostly with Fox Farm,
Mhm.
and then the
Yeah,
big
that's
one-
what I was gonna say. Like for me, my beds are mostly new and they're, I spent a lot of money on soil this year, building them up. So I'm hoping my pH is okay.
Yeah.
you can
What?
get a test. You can get one of those like meter testers. I put that in our group chat, and I'll link it here too. That's like a quick way to.
Yeah, I
You can
think
have it more accurate if you send it in, but this is like a good, initial.
I just and then you know what? Okay, I'm gonna definitely get on this with you, Julie, because I'm really curious about this because we got the soil from Star, and they have a special mix that they use. So we're getting ready to do Christy Hart's tomorrow, and we're using VeraGrow, which I think has a really good reputation, but they're so much further out. The VeraGrow people are far out, but anyway. So this will be interesting to keep an eye on that. But it is good to test your soil. I even heard this over that a lot of people do send in their soil samples every year. And then what happens is you get a printout and it really tells you exactly how much of everything. It's not like a guessing game. It gives you exactly what you need to put in per square foot of what for your soil. So I do know that soil testing is a good thing to do, especially if you're having some problem with it. And I'm really curious about you, Julie, but I'm going to get back with you, Julie, on this because I want to get that nipped in the bud.
Yeah, I think it's more. I mean, I burned some wood last night. I sprinkled it on my soil today, so it's just going to be like waiting to see. Like I'm going to
Right.
have to test it again next week to see
Okay.
if pH went up.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, does anybody have any questions? Any other questions other than this is pretty crazy, this pH thing. This is a sophisticated problem here.
I have some fruit tree related questions if
Okay.
anyone's interested in those. So a lot of you know I planted 6 new fruit trees out front last year. So they're budding out except for one I'm a little concerned about. It looks like it might have a problem. But since it's the first year I'm going to be hopefully collecting a lot of fruit, there's a rule about taking off buds, right? Every 3 inches or something. I don't know.
So Rosemary, that is a really good thing to talk about, and it's actually very different for different trees.
Okay.
So let's go one by one real quick. Which trees, first of all, which is the tree that you're having a problem with? I'm curious.
Oh, the Black Arkansas. It looks like it has some kind of fungus or something
Oh.
on the branches.
What's
and
Black Arkansas? What is that?
It's the apple tree.
Okay, so you remember I told you.
Well, I know. Well, that's why I got the special one that's supposed to do good in Vegas.
I know. So everybody, what I told Rosemary is that apples, we don't have enough chill time in Las Vegas for apples usually. Now, there are supposedly she's found one that's supposed to be okay. And I feel like you could be okay with it. Is that more like a crab apple? Is it a small apple?
Well, I don't know what's gonna come.
Okay, well, anyway, if it doesn't make it, maybe not pick another apple tree, maybe.
Yeah, that's
So anyway,
okay.
that's not surprising to me that one's
Okay.
not, that one isn't. Okay.
The mulberry that I got from a local lady here is killing it. It is looking amazing. It has so many berries on it already. It's out of
Oh,
control.
so happy for you.
Super
And
stoked.
again,
That's the
it's not perfect.
Pakistani.
Okay.
Can
it's a
you can you
Pakistani-
post a picture of it, Rosemary, in the
Oh
chat?
yeah.
In our group, in our text thread?
Yes.
Yeah,
would
and
love to see what it looks like.
it was even like last year, when I got it from her and I planted it, it already had mulberries and we were eating them. My kids were going crazy over it.
And where do you find it? Where do you find her? How did
Joe
you like?
Jamie hooked me up with this lady. She is
Ah.
amazing. And she has all of these trees that she grows. All right, I just threw it in here. And I bought a fig from her and the mulberry. And the mulberry is just, yeah, okay, so I just sent it in the chat. It's just, if you zoom in, you
It
can,
looks like you sent it to me directly, Rosemary.
okay. Yeah, you can.
So
Oh,
what
I
I'm
did.
going to tell everybody is I met this woman who has a food forest, and she has a couple of kids, and she has herself a lot of autoimmune diseases. So she's really into eating healthy and doing everything organically. And this is what I'm talking about. This is somebody growing things here in Las Vegas, and then I don't know how she multiplies her mulberry. I don't know if she takes this, grafts them or what she does, but this
Yeah.
is how come when I told you that I got all these tomatoes from a local lady, those tomatoes are going to do better than anything you're going to buy at the store. And this woman, I can give you guys her name. Oh, I will actually I'll put it in our newsletter coming tomorrow. But she's a super sweet lady and she lives sort of far away, but she does sell beautiful things, and I'm so happy that
She's so smart. She has like, I sent her a picture of my mulberry the other day because I thought she would be interested. And she's like, oh, thank you for sending it. And then
It's
she
like-
sent me pictures of some of her stuff that she's growing. And I'm like, oh, you're just out of control. So
she has this whole thing, and I really want to, maybe I'll get to, oh, let's have her come on. I'm going to have
yeah.
you guys, I'm going to have her come on. She'll do it. She has something that I'm really interested in. She has designed a fertilizer with milk that sounds really interesting. And the reason why it sounds interesting to me, because I didn't know that unsulfured blackstrap molasses and water is a fabulous pest preventative. Oh, Rosemary, we should try that.
Okay.
Have you tried that yet? The unsulfured?
No.
Supposedly the sugar in this unsulfured molasses and water gets into the plant's roots and makes it taste way too sweet, and the bugs don't like it.
Oh.
So that's supposed to be a good deterrent. So blackstrap, and so just Google, I think it's like 2 tablespoons per gallon, something like that. But that's supposed to be a good bug deterrent. So we should probably be trying that too. But I want to see if I can get this food forest lady. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Katie, right?
Katie Olson. Yes, Katie Olson. Yes. I'm going to talk to her and see if she'll come on.
She has gotten most of her fruit trees from this guy in Arizona, and she swears that they're amazing. Like she's like, I'm going on a road trip to get trees, but she says that they grow on this certain stock, and that they're much better for surviving in Vegas if they're grown in.
We have most of our trees are coming in from California, so you guys and this is another sort of technical thing, but all our citrus trees, and I don't know about, I guess the other ones too, but I know citrus for sure is grown on something called root stock. It's grafted and it's put on a root stock. So if your root stock is native to Arizona, it's probably going to be a lot better.
Yeah. She said if you can buy any citrus, you should buy it on sour orange rootstock. That is the best because it's way more heat tolerant and they grow faster.
Interesting. So, sour orange. Not that anybody.
She's growing Oro Blanco grapefruit and Caracara orange and Tango mandarin. She's growing so many things. Her place is like a jungle. It's awesome.
That's what yeah, it's a food forest. So, wow, that's awesome. I forgot about Katie. She's awesome. All right. Anyway, I'm going to try to keep everybody, I'm always going to try to keep this at an hour so that we don't go over. Is there any other questions this week? Oh, Rosemary, did we answer all of yours? Did you have any more?
Oh, it's okay. I know I'm high maintenance on my fruit trees, but I'm very happy to say that my peach, which was the saddest, is looking pretty good. My
Okay.
plum and my nectarine and my fig are all okay from what I can tell. It's just the Arkansas, the apple tree that's
Apple tree. Okay. All right. So is there
Question. I have a question.
yes.
Um, on the shade cloth, Joe Jamie, I'm a
Yes.
bit intimidated about the whole process and like how to cover my garden bed with a shade cloth. You know, like I don't know if there's if you recommend like a system because it sounds like I'm gonna have to get these, I don't know, posts for them,
Yeah, we could
right?
get, yes. So it's really pretty easy. I mean, you just get some metal posts and then just stick them up and then just drape the slate shade cloth over it. I could get Eric to tell you how to do it, or we could come do it for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna get Eric to do, because we haven't,
Maybe if you can send like a picture. I'm trying
yeah.
to visualize what it looks like. Does it just look like a little just like like a little roof over it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's just all we're trying to do is create. We want the sun to come in, and the shade cloth. It's not impermeable. It's not impermeable. It's only like a 50%. So in other words, 50% of the light's going to come in, and it's still going to get light from different angles as the day goes on. But it's just that heat of the day, like that strong sun. Because Julie, you've got the best spot for a garden. You're right out there in the middle of everything, and there's no shade, there's no trees, there's no wall,
But
wall.
it's gonna like get dehydrated during the summer, I would
It,
think.
it is, but it's good. I always, everybody says this. I can't make more sun, but I can shade it. So in other
Yeah.
words, sun is the most important thing. The number one failure I see for people is not having enough sun.
Yeah.
It's always because of a wall or a tree, or if if you're facing the wrong direction, if you have, so it's tough because a lot of people we're really squished together here. And so we've got a lot of, we can't, sometimes people don't get more than 4 hours of sun a day. And it's just, the plants just struggle. They just, doesn't even matter if it's south facing right in the middle of July, and it's still going to get shaded and it's not going to do well. So really,
I
you're
just found a picture of it. It looks good. I found one that looks good.
okay.
I just posted the
Good.
picture in the chat. I'm like, because I have a window from my kitchen looking out at it. I'm like, I don't want it to look like, whatever. But I found a
Right.
nice picture.
I know it's so funny. Oops, I'm going to try to I'm trying to stop our save so we can all be here together. There we go. I should have done that earlier. Okay, so we've got a few more minutes. Anybody else have Trenton and Adriana? I know you guys haven't gotten, they're just getting new here, but it sounds like you guys are sort of a seasoned gardeners already. No?
So we're just starting our garden in the next few weeks or so. Like we want to start small. We've never done it before. So we're just
Exactly.
listening into everyone and kind of taking notes on what to do, what to expect.
Yeah, I took a lot of notes, but I guess the main question I would have is like success rate versus failure rate. So it sounds like a lot of things can go wrong when it comes to, you mentioned like these worms or, soil or shade or the time that you're planting, all of these things. So um as a beginner, it's obviously there's going to be a lot of failure, but I guess just like curious about success rate and like what are some easy things to really start with that
Yes.
will
Okay,
keep.
so I did send you all the videos. If you go back to the beginning, I actually do have a lesson on like the easy things. But just to answer your question right now, because it's really important that you know this, if you decide on a bed, I would do the bigger the bed is the better. The bigger the bed because of the fact that it can stay moist. So your moisture is really important. The soil, please go to VeraGrow for soil, if you can look them up. That's going to give you the best soil. And then amending it, but keeping it moist. So soil, sun, placing it where there's going to get as much sun as you can get. 6 to 8 hours a day is really ideal. And if you don't have that, you're gonna have lower success rate. However, you can plant things that don't need a lot of sun. Like for instance, right now we're getting ready to go in the warm season, and we don't have as many plants that don't need sun this warm season. But like when we go into fall, your lettuces, your cilantro, your parsley, your herbs, they are very happy in some shade. So are you good with sun where you're gonna be? You have plenty of sun?
We need to observe that because we just moved into a new house and I think the sun is pretty good, but we do have like a little shaded area in the patio that I think might like block some of the sun. So
Yeah,
I'm just gonna observe it the next week or so and see.
Yeah. Keep
when we're
an
done.
eye on it and then really find that space that's good. And again, your garden can be very pretty. And I know poor Julie, she's got this fabulous new kitchen with big windows that go right out into her garden. But Julie, you might have maybe 2 months with shade cloth at the most, maybe even only a month.
Mhm.
And if you were
Yeah.
having guests, you could take it down.
Yeah.
I would just
Was my
honestly-
VIP guess.
some input on that. I think herbs are the easiest for me. Like I've been trying to grow lots of vegetable, well, not lots, but I find herbs the easiest. I have,
Yes, I did.
I have 14 mostly perennial herbs growing right now, and they require a lot less maintenance, and bugs aren't into them.
Right. So that was the other thing I was going to say is that herbs definitely is the first thing to do. And
Are you guys doing irrigation? Because I have my biggest failure in the first year was like thinking that I could do it myself and
Oh
watering.
yeah, no, you can't do it yourself here. You fail. You definitely.
That
yeah,
is
so yeah, if you need irrigation, I recommend something called the Garden Grid. If you want to look that up, it's called what's it called? Garden in Minutes or something like that. But there's something, if you Google Garden Grid, it's a grid system, it lays on top of the soil and it waters from all directions. It's really great if you want to get that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend the Garden Grid. But yeah, thank you for that, Rosemary. Yeah, and Julie, those are great suggestions. Yeah, watering, sun, soil. Those are the 3 S's. And the plants, if you get your herbs, let me ask you this real quick. What if you could have like you saw the plants for the warm right now? What would be your what are some fun things you're thinking about, but you don't know?
Well, we eat a lot of tomatoes, so tomatoes,
We're
that
definitely
like
interested in
the
those, yeah.
small tomatoes we would put on everything that we eat. So for
Okay,
sure
so
though,
grab those tomatoes. We did a lot on tomatoes today, and you can do those. And as we go forward, now that you're here, and we're going to keep an eye on those tomato hornworms, but you can pick them off and you'll be fine. So yeah,
and we like peppers as well. We eat a lot of those. So
What are the ones that you showed at the beginning? What are they called?
those
I'm sorry.
little
The tiny peppers that you showed at the beginning. What are
Oh, thank you. I was going to write that down. I forgot the name of them because they're really a weird name. It's like
they? Oh, no worries.
no, because I do a follow-up email. So I will put the peppers, those cute little peppers.
I thought I just missed it.
Those are something that you won't find easily at a store, but you probably could have time. You might have time to make the seeds grow at this point. But for you guys, I would highly recommend buying all your plants if you can. There's a couple of things from seed that do very well, and one of them is cucumbers. So if you did an Armenian cucumber seeds, the Armenian cucumbers are almost fail-proof. So I would highly recommend it, Armenian. Guess what I found at Star today that sounds really fun? Mini me cucumbers, the little tiny cucumbers.
I got those.
Did you get some?
Yeah.
I think I can't wait I've never grown those. I think they're going to be great. I hope they're going to be.
I love mini cucumbers. So
I think those will be fun. You're going to have fun. You're going to have fun, and at least you've got someone holding your hand along the way. And listen,
And I would say
I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, get that on this text thing. You're going to be at Star. Like Julie does it to me all the time. I'm at Star. Like just do that. Do that. You'll get help if you need it.
I would say too, if you're in a home that you think you're going to be in for a long time and you have room, go ahead and plant fruit trees. We can grow so many fruit trees here. It is crazy.
that is awesome. Hearing what you were talking about with the or like learning about Arizona. What was it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's that lady Katie. I think we should probably use her. If I buy any more fruit trees, I'm going to talk to her first because you want to buy something that's going to succeed. But I mean, there's so many that grow well here.
Yeah, so the lemons grow really well here. The Meyer lemons
Pomegranate.
specifically. What is it?
Pomegranate,
Pomegranates are,
pomelo,
what is it?
pomelo. My neighbor has an amazing
Oh, the
pomelo.
pomelo, grapefruit.
It's like a cross between a grapefruit and an orange, and they're so huge and delicious. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, the citrus grows really well here. And of course, the mulberry, if you could get one, a good one. They're delicious. They're like a sort of like a blackberry, but they're sweeter.
Yeah, I think my kids said the taste is like a combo between a blackberry and a grape, kind
Yeah.
of.
Very good. It's very sweet and delicious. It's a short season, but
But the same thing, you can't get those in a store, and I think it's because they go bad really quickly.
yes, yeah, they do. They're very fragile. But your citrus, believe it or not, you don't really need to get a big one. You can get a small one, and you'll have fruit within the second year sometimes.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
What do we think with
Yeah.
I planted our fruit trees in the fall, right, Joe Jamie?
Yes.
So
You'll have another
when-
one more year, but maybe the next year you should be having fruit. Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. And oh my gosh, they smell so good.
Mhm.
They're
But,
going to definitely attract birds, right?
Yes, that is a concern. Not the citrus though, right? Just the stone
well, it's
fruit.
funny you should say that because I mean, you think you see it all. I literally was planting someone's garden the other day and I was flabbergasted. There was lemons hanging from the tree with no peel on them. It's like someone had eaten all the peel off the lemons. I don't know what happened. I've never seen that ever.
Wow.
So I
I
don't
have
know.
not had that in the 3.5 years we've been here with all these lemon trees.
You've had that?
No, I have not had
No.
that.
My mom had the most, we planted we gave this little tiny lemon tree and she lived in our house 9 years. And at the end, it's so big, we had to keep trimming it and it had tons of lemons. No problems. No problems. So, I mean, I'm telling you, there's, it's a crapshoot here. But I do say the guy's lemon trees were in a very weird spot. It was not very light. And it was in there. And so the fruit trees need sun. They need full sun.
That makes sense.
Put them somewhere, make sure they're full sun. And you got to give them enough space in between.
Probably not like close to like backyard walls and stuff, maybe more in the center of a backyard or.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on how big you want to keep them. My house came with all these lemon trees and they planted them right against the wall. And so I've trimmed them way back this year because I want them to be more manageable and I don't want them to be on the wall, but they don't have enough space. But they
what?
look a little
They
bit
live there.
asymmetrical. It's okay.
Yeah, and I have mine in a pot. Actually, I put one in Julie's and we thought it wasn't going to make it. And I just brought it home and put it in a pot and it's all green and going to be beautiful. So yeah, you can put them in pots if you want to. A nice big pot, but you got to keep it irrigated and fertilized. And so there's lots of see, this is why it's so, to me, I don't know how anybody takes a gardening class in any other way but in a year, because you need the whole year. You have to go through this whole year, and every month there's going to be different things. So I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'm going to let you go have your dinners, and I'm so glad to see you all. And Christy, I will see you tomorrow in the beautiful, crazy day tomorrow. We'll see how the weather is.
Awesome.
Is it
I
rain?
look forward to it.
All right, guys, have a great evening.
Thank you,
Bye.
Joe Jamie.
Thanks for Jamie.
Bye.